So if you could just kind of say what you do on a day-to-day basis.
So I'm a professor of computer science and engineering in the College of Engineering, and I teach and do research primarily in the area of smart spaces.
Right.
That could be a small space, a large space, it could be a smart city. So it's smart spaces. Smart homes definitely fit in that area of research.
Okay. Yeah, we saw on your under your bio, it was like the smart spaces, assistive technology, a lot of stuff with helping the older population and like living independently with disabilities. So that's why we were really interested in what you do. So
Correct. And the reason you will find that this is the application area of my research, and also the application area of many other researchers working in the same fundamental research problem, which is smart spaces. The reason is because it is a perfect application area that is challenging, that show that the space has to have a purpose, and the purpose has to be measurable. And in the case of elderly, you are able to see if you're helping them, assisting them, making their quality of life at the very end. The quality of life is improving, the well-being is improved or not. So it is very easy for us to measure at the end what we're building.
right.
Cool. Let's see. So how did you get involved with the smart space stuff? Did you come up with it, or was it a collaboration effort?
Well, I mean, the research area itself, smart spaces, is an evolution from where we were before. We were in distributed systems, having networks and computers connected together and do things.
Right.
All of a sudden, the network starts to become wireless. So you have a fixed network and wireless network. And then also that was followed by having fixed computer and mobile computer. So two types of computers, two types of network. And we got into what's called mobile computing. But then before we know it, and I was working in that evolution. I was in my PhD, I did research in distributed system, moved into mobile computing, and then we went into sensors. And that's where not just myself, many people got into smart space and sensor-based computing. That is a fundamental research area, but the application of that area, and specifically the Gator Tech Smart House, that is a project, an application, and that was done jointly, actually, with people like yourself.
Yeah.
From the Rehab School of Department of Rehabilitation here at the University of Florida.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So one of the things that we notice is that it's definitely a transdisciplinary approach. Like you with the computer science and in the rehab, what do you think the benefits are having all the different disciplines kind of working together to make this technology happen?
Yeah, it's exactly the last word you ended with, which is makes it happen.
Yeah.
It's just the only way it works. Because if you remove some of the key stakeholder, some of the key expertise from the whole vision of smart spaces, something will not work. So if we have only computer scientists and rehab engineers or rehab science people, and we're trying to do something that require, for example, persuasion. You want to convince people. It doesn't work. You need people who understand persuasion, behavior science, psychology. So you keep stacking all the roles that are needed for the purpose of the system you're trying to build. If the system doesn't require persuasion, it just focuses on rehab concerns. It looks like computer scientists and rehab scientists would actually be sufficient to work together.
Right.
Can you explain some of the technology that goes into a smart home? Just some of the different aspects of it?
Yeah, definitely. So in the context of disability and aging, of course, we now have application that goes under entertainment, latchkey kids, all kind of different applications. So now my answer to you is based on aging and disabilities.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, you try to turn the smart home into an assistive environment. Assist in many ways. Don't think of a device. Don't put all your bets on one thing, like a big, giant medicine reminder device. That's fine, but how much is it? And if you pay only $1,600 for them. What's one single device that does one single thing? Are we doing smart home? Or that will not, who's the payer? We're going to pay for all this. So we think of the smart home that it's a place where technology that are integrated together in a box that you can buy from, let's say, Home Depot or Target for no more than $1,500. And you call the Dish Network guy or girl to come and install it in half a day and call 1-800 number to activate services. And now you have a bunch of balanced things in the house.
Right.
Okay.
So that's how we look at it. Not go bring in off-the-shelf gizmos and specific individual devices and put together and go take pictures and say, hey, that's a smart house. Well, definitely it is. It's a smart house that nobody can buy.
Right.
But we're talking about simple applications, so cheap sensors and big goals. So hydration, So I want to put some stuff to detect if the person is actually taking enough liquid. Hydration is very important.
Yeah.
And you put sensors somewhere. What is it? You're going to put sensor on cups and glasses. It becomes unreasonable.
Right.
Crazy. So what do we do? That's where the domain experts and people who understand really the anatomy of activities of daily living.
Yeah.
Because nobody teaches that to us as engineers. We don't know what activities daily living.
Right.
So we need people get together and say, no, it's just enough to put a simple sensor on the flush tank. Okay, now if that is used, that's an indication that some stuff is going. So there's, there's a cycle going on. That's good. If that's not going, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about 80 cents of a sensor. So that's check. Yes, that is in, and so forth. Finding out the big goals and find out what is the cheapest set of sensors and software that can make them all realized and in check.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that would be like the hub. You're talking about having the different sensors out, and then you have like a kind of a central hub or something that connects to an iPad or a tablet or their computer.
It's like a smart home computer.
Okay.
Cool.
And the smart home computer can be a hub. A hub can be like a set-top box, the one that you find on top of your TV, or all these IPTV things that you see today.
Yeah.
Right.
All these can be a hub. The phone itself, the smartphone, can be a hub.
Right.
But for all kind of legal reason and for reliability and dependability, we cannot assume that is the hub.
Yeah.
But we can like it and depend on it on the go. So when the person also leave the home, how can somebody be so protected and as an elderly and enjoying services in a smart home? And the moment the person goes into Publix to buy some groceries, that person is totally unprotected now and has no smartness around them.
Right.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable. So at that point, the smartphone can come to play instead of a smart home. Let's say it play like a few walls, just a couple of walls around the person, smart couple of walls, okay?
Yeah.
And that just allow it to continue some services at least when the person is on the go until the person comes back in.
Cool. Do you find that an older population is like receptive to this technology? Like
Yes,
they are?
yes. So in the smart house, we don't just put technology, but we bring people to live in.
Yeah.
And when they live in, we get them to use the technology. That give us two things. Give us low-level data. We call it data sets. And the data set are points of interaction between the user
Yeah.
and the sensors and devices.
Okay,
Right.
cool.
That's very important for us. And then it gives us also the opportunity to sit down with them and survey them and ask them a million questions and get answers.
Yeah.
And we have actually a famous paper that was documented, that was done, which was actually led by someone from the rehab science department. So we didn't lead that publication, but it was led by people like you,
Yeah.
asking the right question, doing the statistics, and finding out that people really like, and what people at what demographics and what age groups, if they really like the concept itself, and what specifically they love most about it, and what is it that they're not, so thrilled about.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, so you've gotten the data back and people are accepting of it. What about training for that? I know like one of the things that we look at is training older people on some of these newer technologies, and it's difficult. It's difficult to lay it out in steps that are like easy to digest. Have you found any difficulties with training?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You definitely asked the right question here. We're talking here about the simplest training on the simplest component in the system, which is simply commanding the smart house.
Right.
I mean, smart house will be smart and it will proactively do things for you. For example, it can detect what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's call that activity recognition. And then it can detect if, for example, in a dementia situation, if the activity is being performed and it's pausing. It can be so smart. We call it smart, right?
Right.
But then that's great, but that's not enough. We need now what's called the human in the loop.
Right.
We need a system where no matter how smart the system is, here we have a patient who has specific need and she wants something specific. So now we need the patient to start steering the smart house. Mm-hmm. At that point of interaction, the patient is talking to the smart house or interacting by a touch display or whatever the interface is. Mm-hmm. We have always found difficulties in that point of interaction.
Yeah.
So we went to voice, like audio, just simply press, push, and talk. Mm-hmm. Even push and talk didn't work because, and it was surprising because the subjects that we use, some of them will actually push in a non-coordinated fashion with what they talk.
Right.
So part of what they say get chopped off, and the computer will not know what they're talking about.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's good to know as occupational therapists, like different things that might hinder the use of it and how we can help too. So,
Right.
Perfect.
What do you think the future of smart home technology looks like?
Well, I think, in my opinion, the smart home technology of the future will be something that bring more stakeholders. It will bring people that we never expected to play. Like you talk to me because I'm a professor, I'm an engineer, and I have a smart home, and you found some information about me. Mm-hmm. But the day the smart house will happen is, or smart home will become mainstream, is when the construction industry and builders become very cozy and find cheap medium of smart homes where you go there to buy and they tell you this is the model A, model B, they tell you this is a premier model, this is that, this is a little budget model. Now they put a package and say this is a smart home package and it costs you just X% extra, not much. Right. And now people opt to buy it and the money really will go in service, not on what the builder would put. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing is when the smart house become in a box, meaning that builder also cannot deal with engineers and cannot go crazy and look at the technology. He shouldn't deal with technology, he should deal with products. Mm-hmm. So we are talking here about that the builder is ordering boxes. So this is a smart home for an elder person with dementia, one with visual impairment, one with mobility. This is not for an elder, this is for a veteran with limb and with a certain situation.
Yeah. Right.
This is a smart home with more specific, with dexterity issues. Okay, so just having a smart home in a box, that concept that give you reasonable enough goals to be achieved, with minimal cost, and it's done carefully and tested by people like you. Kill it testing, kill it, right? Yeah. And now we know what we got right. For example, let's talk about hygiene. Let's say hygiene will be available in all packages. Mm-hmm. Right. Because we need to make sure people are washing their hands, as otherwise they can have little bacteria in their stomach. They go to the doctor thinks it's a pylori bacteria, they have ulcer, they take the doctor in the wrong direction, and then they keep beating the patient with the wrong medicine. But if the house tells on the patient and say, well, hygiene is only 4 out of 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Now the doctor can immediately suspect this is not an ulcer, this is pylori.
Yeah.
And he can test it quickly and say, all right, okay, I know what to do. So these things, the more we package things into a simple product, smart home in a box, and the more we involve the key people at the right time. For example, involve the engineer and you in really incepting or creating the boxes. What are the goals? Like, for example, a box has like nighttime support. Mm-hmm. You can see an icon for nighttime where elder person with more, they need more support at nighttime,
Right.
and so forth. So if we're able to talk to gerontologists and to you and to the domain expert and anybody else who is involved, as I said, if there's persuasion involved, persuasion means if you want the users to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
See, we can actuate an actuator. I can sense something, and I also can actuate. I can turn on the light. I can turn off the light. That's smart home.
Right.
But the one challenge in smart home is if you want the users to do something, you can't actuate the human with all that confidence. Okay, you really need to actuate in a very intelligent way. It's what we call it persuasive computing. You have to be persuasive. So you almost want the engineer now to understand persuasion and behavior science theory and apply that. So it's very difficult, but we're working on it. Many people are working on it right now.
Yeah.
So if we have the right stakeholders in the process of designing the box, and then if we have the right people in the stage of testing the box, and then if we have the right people in the stage of installing the box, make it part of the smart home package, or allow a son to go buy it in from Target for his mother,
Right.
and put it there. And then if we also bring in the last step, which is the business guys, the guys who are eager to make money.
Yeah.
Well, hell, let them make money, okay? Let's just get them to create services. Because we need to put all that stuff, all that stuff has to have services behind it at the very end.
Right.
And an eventual man in the loop. At the very end, we need to have humans that oversee the possibilities of an intricate system like this. So we have to have the final fence of defense is humans. So we need services to be added to all that. So the more we engage the right people, the right stakeholder in the right stage of the design of the smart home, the more the smart home would become an industry and a mainstream and actual product and service.